Okay, so we are going to get started with our office hours. Welcome to our brand new space, everyone.
Right.
And Jose has been a resident with us for
Focus on my no, 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks. This is the second week or is this the third week?
This is August 1st. 14 days.
Oh wow, okay, so 2 weeks, yeah. So he's been living through our chaos, yes. Yeah. Literally living through the chaos with the people still banging. I'm like, okay, this is supposed to be done when we moved in. But we're here now, and so pleased that y'all decided to join us. But as you know, this is our weekly office hours session, so this is all about you and what's going on with your business and anything you may be struggling with. So I'm just here to kind of figure out what's going on, and then I kind of walk you through, help you get over the hump. So are there any pressing issues that are going on right now that we can talk through? Nothing? I know we got some faces I haven't seen in a little bit.
It's kind of overwhelming to see so much opportunities, and
Yeah.
Personally, I don't feel like we are ready with the staff to do what is required to get
Right.
contracts,
Yeah, and that's a very smart way for you to look at things. But the other side of that is it can prevent you from stepping out to do what you need to do to win the contracts. Because one thing that you need to understand about contracting is that, if you get an opportunity that requires staff or people could be easily found if you've got the money and resources to find them. So the contract could afford you the money and resources to get the people. So don't let, if it's a matter of capability or capacity, like I just don't know this, then surely you don't want to go after that opportunity. But if you're like, oh my God, this is in my wheelhouse, but I only have 3 people and this is going to require 15, but you know exactly what to do and how to make that happen, and all you got to do is grow from 3 to 15, that is easy to do relatively because you know your business, you know the ins and outs of it, and if you have the resources, you can go out and find that, you can fill that gap, you can find those 12 qualified people, if money wasn't an option. And if you have the ability to get that contract, then and you price it appropriately, then money is no longer that X factor that you need to worry about.
Yeah. On the other hand, you know what you have to do. You have the resources in terms of hands to carry the job.
Right.
But it's only you, the one that is responding to those proposals. So if it's only you, not only responsible or the one that is writing those proposals,
right,
and taking care of the entire business. So you have to choose between which one do you want to do.
Do I want to make money, or do I want to spend this time writing a proposal that may turn into money?
Yes.
But this is money right here.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the biggest struggle with it, and that's one of the other resources. That's why we partner with people like proposal helpers and all that. Of course, then you're trading dollars for your hours, but you got to figure out if that trade-off is worth it, and if maybe it would make sense to do a smaller investment, maybe not pay somebody every time you have to do a proposal, but pay them to have that consultation so you can figure out, okay, give me a skeleton and a framework so that when I do get a proposal that it's not so overwhelming and just starting from scratch and ground zero, where you have, kind of a structure of what needs to go in every proposal, and then you just tailor and customize it based on the one you're looking at, the particular opportunity. And that's one of the services that Proposal Helpers offers too. And I just remembered I forgot to turn my phone off, so let me do that now.
Have you ever done any business with the Atlanta Business Suite?
Not directly, no. As far as membership or anything, or?
I was halfway through, and they asked for my matrix code. And of course, it was in the car, so I had to back out.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't follow through all the way, but it looks like there's opportunities there.
Well, as far as contract opportunities or just
of working with their members,
Oh, okay, yeah. And that's a great resource. every resource out there is a great resource if you've got the time and the bandwidth. Oh my gosh, Charlene Fitzpatrick, how are you, lady?
You doing office hours?
Yes. Come on, have a seat.
How you doing?
Doing good. Thanks for joining us.
I've been so busy. You know I'm coming because I got questions.
I know.
I drove past here and then had to go all the way around. That's the thing. You drive past it, you got to go all the way
I know.
around.
Yeah, you gotta do the loop. I know. At least you only had to do it once.
First time.
I was like, I got to go home.
Yeah. So, but and what I was saying was that with every resource is going to be a great resource. But again, back to Jose's point, you know, when you're kind of in the phase that most of us are, where you're kind of a small business, where it's just a 1 or 2 or 5-man shop, and you're wearing 20 different hats, you know, yes, you can join that and, you know, be a member of GCA and all these other places, but if you don't have time to work the relationships, then it just becomes a burden and not necessarily a benefit. So just be wise about what's out there, what you're able to, you know, how you spend your time, and make sure it's worth your while. But they're all amazing resources, especially if you leverage them.
Right. Touch a little bit base with this question. There's a chart on the Fast Track software that says it shows you when you have a project, you can assess it to see if you can move ahead with it or not.
That go or no go
yes.
sheet.
Is
Yes.
there any way to explain that chart?
Yes. Let's see if we can hop into it.
And where did you get food?
Through the kitchen. I was going to say, you've not been here before, so go explore. Go explore. And then you can come back with your question. Yes.
Question.
I know.
You know, I don't ever come.
Hey, Diane. Okay, good. I know. I asked Sana to get you. I was like, she came early, so I'm sure she must be here at office hours. Did she find you?
I'm here.
Did Sana find you?
She did. She
Okay,
did
good,
find me,
good.
yes. I was
Okay.
wondering where you guys were, so.
Okay.
I'll say
There's
that.
one here, there's one
Sure.
there.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll grab
Either
it.
there or this one. Yes. So.
She did find me.
Good. Good. Good.
You bought me some of those little chips. Those are good, aren't they?
They are good.
This one, I think this one of these is hot, and I'm not supposed to be eating it, but
This is,
I think
it's that
you
one.
okay.
Yeah, I think it's that
I
one.
passed that one. It's
It's like, oh my goodness, I only got a little bit.
Okay, so the go, no go sheet. And basically what this is, hello. This is just kind of a worksheet that you can use to kind of evaluate the project, the merits of the project, to see if it makes sense for you to actually go after it. Oh, it would help if I hit the button to open it. Okay, and then this, this is just, like I said, a tool, and tell me if I need to blow this up for you guys. Okay. Is that a little better? Okay, so this is just kind of a self-scoring sheet for you to use as you're looking at projects to decide how worth your while it is to go after it. So, are you using something like this currently, Jose?
No. What I do, I actually go to the actual document and read through, because personally, what I found is that it's not so difficult to assess whether I have the capability to fulfill the needs of that proposal. But the hardest compliance comes when it's with the state, because every state have different regulations, every state have different things that you have to comply with.
Right.
So your job already know it, but but most of the time you have to do extra work with the state, with permits, with
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why this tool can be valuable, because if it's a situation, it's not only evaluating whether or not this project is something you go after, but whether or not it's even, You know, like, are you known by the client? If it's a state that you've never done business in before, that means the client doesn't know you, and you don't know that state's policies and procedures.
Now,
So
what is this here? You got a spreadsheet you're giving away or something?
this is a go or no-go sheet that we use. It's one of the tools in the software that you can use to evaluate your proposals and whether or not you should go after it. So in that case, you know, because you know you're going to have to do all that extra work just to be able to be in compliance and everything, then that's going to require additional hours of time on top of just preparing the actual proposal. So it may make it that it's not beneficial for that particular project for you to go after.
The way that I've been doing it is just going directly to those points in the proposal, you know, so I can see if it's something that I can understand now and I can do, or at least, you know, I know now what this state, the way this state is working, so I can get ready for the future, things like that, you know, not necessarily starting writing anything, but just getting the information,
evaluating whether or not, yeah. So, and that's part of, this is just kind of a, I guess, a more systematic way to do that very thing that you're already doing. You know,
you need a systematic way though.
Right.
We've got 3 clients now.
Awesome.
And we've connected with an 8A. And so we're like, we got to come up with a systematic way. That's why I'm really eyeing your thinking.
Yeah.
Because we have to come up with a systematic way to say yes or no. Because him being an 8A, he's saying, okay, so I've added HR to my stuff. So you guys see something, and when I see something, but we still have to be able to quickly, because that stuff is due so fast.
Oh yeah. They give me very little time to get all that done.
So quickly, you have to.
And that's one thing, and I don't know, you may have missed it. I was just saying to them right before you walked in that, you know, it may be beneficial to partner with an agency or a company like Proposal Helpers, who's our proposal partner, to help you come up with a framework or a skeleton. So that way you kind of have the bones of it.
Well, that's what we were doing. We were creating templates.
Right, exactly.
We got to create some templates.
Right, because you have to have something to be able to turn these so quickly. Now, but back to your situation, Phil, where you were talking about the go, no-go sheet. But this is, you know, just asking you some basic questions. Are you known by the client? Is this the very first time you've heard of this procurement? What's your overall technical capability and position? So do you have the expertise to do this? And this is just you evaluating yourself and being brutally honest with yourself, because if you know, the client doesn't know this is the very first time you're hearing about that, all of those are negatives, because that means they probably know somebody who they know well that they may want to give this to. So, you know, does it, you know, what overwhelming factor do you have that would blow them out of the water? You know, when this is the first time you're hearing about the proposal, this is the first time the client's hearing about you, kind of thing.
Talking about the relationship.
Oh my gosh, they mean everything. The 3 clients that I got, that's how they came to us. Relationships. There was no bid. There was a, you know, so you know, people that can do this. Yep. Call them up. Called us up. All relationship. Everything is relationship.
What is your business?
A human capital consulting firm. And so we do curriculum development, talent acquisition, compliance, and I'm too fast. But so we do human resources pretty much for in the government space. But it's all been relationships so far. I mean, I have another business, and I've had that since 1998. But that's the private sector. And it has always been relationships. I mean, the whole 20-some years that's all been relationships. I didn't realize until, you know, you guys say that all the time, but the government's driven the same way. It's all relationships. It's all relationships.
So in order to build up a relationship ahead of time before the project comes out, I think there is one space on one website that you gave us. I don't recall.
Well, I mean, there's several, but what you need to do is start getting good at forecasting. So, and that's going to be, the website is going to be contingent on the agency. So like, you know, all of this is about doing the research to figure out where you're trying to sell your products. And of course, the government is so big and vast, and this goes back to what you were saying, it's very easy to get overwhelmed with the amount of opportunities that are out there, right? So if you, I mean, if you're trying to go target everything, then you're going to get very good at getting paralyzed and targeting nothing. You know, because that overwhelm can literally paralyze you, especially in a space this large. So if you have identified one key player, whether it's Department of Health and Human Services or Department of Justice or Department of whatever it is that you want to go after, again, that's in and of itself big. So if it's, you know, Department of Health and Human Services, narrow it down to, okay, so it's CDC. So that's the one place. Okay, so we're going to start here, CDC in Atlanta, and now you need to look at their forecast and see what's on the horizon for fiscal year 2018, because 2017 is over. I mean, the fiscal year literally ends at the end of next month, is it? October, November, December. So end of this month, I mean, end of September.
Yes.
So then it's over. So this money, if you're not already in there good, then yeah, you've already missed the boat, really.
So who are you trying to speak with? Sit down with the procurement or the diversity person? Who would be?
Well, at a government agency, it's going to be the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization, called the OSDBU, and
how do you?
OSDBU, OSDBU. And then the individual at that office is called the SADBU, the Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization.
SADBU?
I know. Why you SADBU?
Who came up with that?
Seriously, that's been an acronym before Boo came around. So, and oh God, why can I not call the lady at CDC? Gwen Miles is the actual person here at this office in Atlanta. But, you know, so you're going to need to find who that person is, who that individual is that you need to make those relationships with. And then also, so it's not just her, because, yes, she's the Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization Officer, but, and I can't remember if she's an actual contracting officer or the SADBU. So if she's the contracting officer, then yes, she's the one stroking the check. But you also need to make those relationships with the technical experts, the ones that are actually writing out the scope of work and writing out the projects. And what is your line of work again?
Licensed project.
Okay, so you need to know what the scope of work is, and you need to make relationships with those people that are writing out that scope of work so that they see you as that project manager and as that technical expert. And then they're like, okay, you know, if you build the right kind of relationship, then they'll craft a proposal around your capabilities and all of that. And I mean, that's done in the federal space all the time.
Okay, so we're not talking about the private sector. We're talking about public right now.
We're talking exactly. Okay. We're talking about government, specifically public sector. And what did
so
that?
All these, excuse me. So I just wanted to make sure I understood. So all these government agencies actually have a SADBU, or
right.
It's not called procurement. It's.
Well, they have an Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. All of them do.
Okay.
Yes. So, and oftentimes you can find it pretty easily on their website.
Including DDS.
Including what?
DDS.
DDS, Department of. Oh, that's a state government agency. Now, again, back to states are a little different. Right? So. Is this Department of Driver Services? Is that the one you're talking about?
Disability.
Oh, okay. So what does it stand for?
Department of Disability Services.
I don't think that's what it's called here in Georgia. It's isn't it the Children and is that through Children and Family Services?
That's a different one.
Okay.
You said disability services?
Yeah. DDS.
DBHDD, Department of Community Health and Department of Behavioral, that one?
Behavioral Health and Development.
Okay. Georgia Council on Developmental Disabilities.
See, Department of Disability Services, DPS.
Yeah, but that's in DC.
On DC,
Yeah.
that's the same way as it called here.
Well, they may have a division of it here, but it may not be called that.
Yeah, and there's no, yeah, so.
It might be called something else here in Georgia.
Mhm.
Kind of like the DJJ. Georgia DJJ is called.
So then, yeah, what you'll need to do is do some research into this agency and then figure out if because this is a DC government.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for the Georgia department, because I thought it was that, I'm sorry. We're still, as you can tell, we're still slightly under construction.
So you guys got the whole bottom floor.
Yeah, this is all us. I know, we're stepping up in the world.
Y'all moving on up to the east side.
So yeah, this is the only one that I know of. But again, back to, and that's why the research part is so important, because this is the reason why I hate Facebook so much, is I feel like it's a rabbit hole. And I don't know if y'all know what I'm talking about, where you start looking at a friend's post, and then you click on something, and then you click on something else, and then you're down in this little thing, and you have to, right. So that's kind of how this is. So
I was just thinking the same thing. I don't do Facebook. I'm not really sure I know about that.
Yeah, my social media person does it.
Don't put no one
I do it for business, but
that's the only thing I do it for is
I
business.
do it for business.
So, but navigating this government quagmire is very similar, where it's going to take you some focused time.
Oh man, you talk about going down the rabbit hole. You will get lost and never return.
Yeah.
Because if you have the shiny new object syndrome,
Yes.
that is not, you gotta be focused.
You
That's why
really-
we developed a strategy.
Yeah, you
And
have to be
we
focused.
really have to pay attention, because it's like, okay, going down that rabbit hole, that is not what we do, even though we can do it.
Right, yeah, because you can
And,
easily get
I
distracted.
just don't want it. It's
Yeah.
so distracting. There's
So,
lots of things.
So you don't want to be going after 10 different projects at one time, or 20. I mean,
Right.
we want to just focus on a couple of different.
Well, now at some point, when you get your strategy,
starting out.
when you get your strategy together, yeah, you're gonna need to go after 10, 20, 30. But it's gonna be based on your strategy. In other words, like a friend of mine who's an 88, and he was so funny. So we came up with our relationship spreadsheet, and we call it I call it the who do you know who that. So trying to figure out who knows who from a relationship. So we had a meeting with a friend of mine who has an 88, and he has other companies too. So I took my business partner down there with me to his office. And after we were finished talking and picking his brain and him sharing with us, he says, "Come into my office. I want y'all to see something." He said, he said, "Charlene, you've been knowing me for years." He said, "Charlene, you're getting ready to do some real work now." I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "See that stack of paper right there? Those are all proposals.
Wow.
Those are all proposals that we got out." I said, "How many you got?" But then as an 88, you get phone calls too. That's the other thing. They call him up and say, "Hey, you got this, blah, 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 blah,
Yeah,
blah."
and that's ideally where you want to get to.
Yeah, but
But,
you
you
will
know,
when you start growing, you have 10 different, but it's based on your strategy. It's not based on, well, I'm gonna do this, see this.
Right,
It's
yeah.
based on your strategy.
You just need to be very strategic.
Dude.
But yeah, so
Is now a good time to do the certification, considering that the fiscal year is ending, or is it?
I mean, it's always a good time to do the certification, because it's a process. So the longer you wait, the longer it's going to be before you actually get what it is you're trying to get.
We have certifications.
Yes, I'm sure you do. I know you do. So we're going to get to those. But yeah, I mean, so it's always a good time to do certifications. And I would tell people, I probably shouldn't say this being on tape. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with all these certification programs and what we've got going on. I mean, we know the current administration has already started dismantling the Minority Business Development Association that's been around for well over 50 years. So absolutely now's a good time to do it, because, if you're in there, then you have a voice about why it's important for you to stay and why it's important for it to stay. And if you wait around and it goes away, then, you kind of miss the boat.
And we're talking about A&A. What certifications are we talking about?
It could be
Sounds
any,
wrong.
but I'm specifically talking about 8A.
Okay.
Right. But and I'm not sure exactly which certification you're referring to, but if you have none, then yes, the time to get started is now. Because especially, and I'm talking to you because I know you're a well-established business, and yeah, so there's no reason to delay that. Okay, so you had specific questions on certification?
I do. Well, somewhat on certification. So the 51%. Okay, so, and I have the questions, 2 questions based on that from the 51% perspective. So it's from the signing of RFPs, or once you get an award, okay?
Right.
And then also from the perspective of contracts and reporting. Oh, so certifications I get because we apply for our DBE.
Okay.
I'm waiting to hear from them. So that should be the next. I'm waiting to hear from them. And so for that, you have to have whoever the 51% person is, that person has to supply all of their personal information. Now,
person or persons.
Person or persons.
Right.
But if it is, now how does that work if your percentage goes from 51 to say 48? So then is it a majority? Is it the 2 people how do they do when it comes to signing contracts is what I'm saying.
I don't think I understand your question as far as signing contracts.
So once you get you put in for the RFP, and they always want to know who's the owner. Right. And so when you finally get an award or something, and it's time to sign all the documents, the person who has 51% is usually the person who has those documents. Right. So does that mean that the combination of 51% signs that document? So signs those documents?
Generally, yeah. Well, let me make sure I understand the question. So you've got this new contract for your company, of which you are 51% owner.
Say if I'm not 51. Say I'm 40. Say I'm 48.
Okay. So what is your title?
CEO.
Okay. So if you're CEO of that corporation, then you are the one signing that document.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
It doesn't
necessarily matter the percentage.
Oh, okay. So the only time the percentage comes into play is with the certifications.
Right.
Right. Got it.
So that's why I was slightly confused, because I don't understand how you are 51% for certification purposes, but for a contract purpose, you're not 51%.
Well, that's because it's going to be changing.
So I guess,
So if it's changing, if it goes less than what I'm saying is when it goes less than 51%, because we're bringing on another partner.
When it goes less than 51%, then the first thing you need to do is notify that agency that certified you. Otherwise, you could be eligible to get kicked out of that certification.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you have any change in ownership where you are no longer 51%, you need to notify that agency and let them know, here are the facts on the ground now.
So then are they going to have to provide, so now, okay, say if it's 3 owners with the majority ownership, then in our operating agreement, we have what's called a super-majority.
Okay.
So that way that the 2 senior partners get to make the decision. In other words, you got to have, the senior partner and that small partner can't make decisions without the
other senior.
Right. And so will the 2 senior partners then have to submit? Well, we have to recertify. That's what I'm
probably. And it may not be a whole recertification process, and especially if you notify them. Now, if you do something, not wise and don't notify them, and then they come back to you later, then they kick you out and you're starting the process all over again. And then they're looking at it with a fine-tooth comb and questioning integrity and all that other stuff.
Right.
So you just want to, keep it up front and let them know the facts on the ground have changed. And if you do have that supermajority language, then it would require that you and the other senior person supply all the documents.
Yeah, see, I thought that was.
Isn't that all spelled out in the organization? What is it called? Articles of
the operating agreement or bylaws.
Yes,
but I wouldn't let anything unless they're bringing the money. I wouldn't let anybody get the majority seat. I ran into that whole thing about the veterans thing, but didn't have the same.
We created.
There's a lot of projects. So
we created a supermajority so that.
Yeah.
Well, the question
but
is.
Now I'm questioning though. Bringing on the third partner.
Well, the question is, how are you winning that contract? Are you winning it based upon that certification as the criteria, meaning that you're a woman-owned business or that you run an RT-owned business, what is the criteria you're using to win the contract?
Well,
I
Because
think
that
it's
will
all,
determine.
it's all women, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
So yeah, so it's all women, but then I'm not so much concerned about that one particular contract. I'm talking about doing
The
business
future,
over time.
right,
I'm not talking about.
She's talking about long term.
I'm talking about long term, just doing business in our structure.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about.
So,
I'm
I mean,
talking about well, you answered my question.
yeah.
That one question anyway, which
Okay.
means we got some talking to do. Because,
Lucy, you got some explaining to do.
well, yeah, because bringing on a third partner
Right.
means we dilute our shares of ownership.
Right.
And which we were willing to do, but it doesn't sound like it makes sense from a business sense perspective. So
Right.
you got to come up with another way
Mm-hmm.
in which to provide this person something.
Right.
I mean, we got to figure out another way to provide them something because
Yeah.
I figured that 51% because I had to have that in order to get the DBA,
Right.
apply for all that. I'm still
Right.
waiting, but yeah, okay, I figured as much.
Okay.
I figured as much.
So-
And then we would all have to supply our information,
Right.
Yeah.
not just one person,
Right.
because we would lose that 51%
Mm-hmm.
and everybody. And I have to notify Marta that that's what's happening
Yeah.
when it happens.
Yeah.
Either if I'm in the process or once I even
Mhm.
get it. Okay, so that answers that question.
So what kind of business do you have?
Human capital consulting,
Okay. And then.
H3C, LLC.com.
Shelley's always getting her little plug in.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm not mad at you. I am appreciative of the fact that you do
Say my
it
first
right.
go around.
How long have you been with
Okay.
this organization?
2 years.
Or government
Has it been 2 years?
Yeah, well, I'm on the page twice.
Well, yeah, 2
How long
years.
did it take you to get your first contract after being with the organization?
Well, okay, so that's not a good assessment because we were with, and the reason I say that is because we went through some
Major
reorganizations because we were trying something special. It's really all of my partners, all of us, we have been business owners for over 20 years. All of us have successful consulting companies. So what we decided to do is do a collaborative thing and go after government contracts. And we thought that sounded like fun.
But you all have different skill sets, right? Areas of expertise, I hope.
In the human
Okay,
capital,
interesting.
in the human capital
Oh, okay.
field. Some of them cross over, but pretty much in the human capital field, we have some varying skill sets, but they're pretty
Okay.
similar. But all that changed when we had a conversation with Abe.
Yeah, the rubber meets the road.
He blew up our idea because we thought, well, we can all just go after government contracts, split the money, and keep it moving.
Right.
And they kind of enlightened us. So yeah, he enlightened us. He blew up our idea. He blew it up like. So yeah, so it probably was. So our first one we joined a year ago, 2 years ago, 2 years now. But we had to get our infrastructure, organization infrastructure, your foundation infrastructure together. And I'd say that came pretty quick after that. It came pretty quick after that. Yeah, our strategy, we're still doing some infrastructure things.
That part I don't think ever goes away.
No, it doesn't because you keep changing.
Right.
You keep changing.
Right.
But I'm learning there's a few things that can't change. But yeah, so it probably was, I don't know, this year. So about a year.
That's why you're so happy, right? Yeah,
Well, I'm always happy.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I would
Does
know.
that not help? I mean,
I'm always happy. I'm like,
it doesn't help.
I wake up like, I was training last week at the Department of Juvenile Justice Conference. We were at the conference. And I said, I wake up like this. Happy. And I don't drink coffee.
Wow.
And I wake up at 4:30. So that's just my personality.
Now, what did you had a second question, or did that kind of?
Yeah, well, I got more questions.
Okay.
But I think this is a Pam question about Stephanie's email. And it's going to the wrong place. I think that's a Pam. Attorney recommendations. I done gone through 3. I need a government attorney. I got a regular business attorney, but I need a government contracting attorney.
Okay, and we've given you, and see, I don't want to give you Devo. Can you tell me one of those pins?
Don't give me that thing that you gave me before, because he got too much business.
I
don't chase nobody to get my money over.
Yeah, he
You know what I'm
doesn't
saying?
return calls. Okay,
Yeah.
so and
Attorney recommendations.
Number one complaint for attorney.
What?
They don't return phone calls.
yeah.
Well, you know what, mines do, and since I do a lot of compliance work, because I do investigations,
yeah.
I deal with them all the time. So they do, but for some reason, that one guy, and then the other lady, she was just not.
I'm an attorney. That's the number one
not
complaint. I return phone calls, but
Yeah.
clients tell me they've had attorneys in the past.
Now, whose email do we need to fix?
I'm sorry?
Whose email do we need to fix?
Stephanie Hudson.
Okay.
We need to send her stuff to her H3C email because it's going to her, whatever, not her H3C email.
Okay.
And then I need to talk to the guys about some technical stuff on the website.
Okay.
But I'll get a hold of them. They're probably gone, I'm sure, by now. They probably got office hours now.
No, Andrew's here, but he's working the camera for the big meeting. So, yeah.
Oh, and utilizing the space. That was the other thing. What's the process for rent? Everybody might want to know.
I was just gonna say everyone needs to know.
Everybody want to know this one. What's the process for utilizing some of this space as a member?
So as a member, each of you get 3 days of space for free with your membership.
A year or a month?
A month.
Okay,
Yeah,
I was going to
so
say,
every
that's all we get.
Yeah, and Richard told me I needed to have this sheet. Did I listen to the man and put it somewhere where I can find it again?
Is there a number of hours on there that 3 days a month?
Once we get into the actual software that's going to manage all this, it may break it up into hours, but for right now, we're doing it as days.
Okay. So 3 days of utilization a month.
Right.
And how much notice we got to give?
Not really any right now because, we've got a lot of empty space, so you don't need to worry about that. Now, I imagine that at some point is going to change.
Yeah.
So, 2 months ago, so this can't be the right one because we just edited it on Saturday. Well, then
So as members, we get it for free. Not free, but we pay for it as members, right?
Huh?
Yeah. The free part.
You get the what?
It's an additional benefits as a member package.
There you go. What's your name?
Diane Dixon.
Diane says it's additional benefits as a membership pack. I like that.
Yeah.
Friends benefit.
I don't know. I don't know where the updated sheet is because we literally played around with this on Saturday. So this is not correct, and I don't want to show
We
this.
only want to look at members.
Right. But it's the conference
passes.
room. Yeah, so you get up to 5 guest passes per month. The 3 days of access. You don't get any free conference room hours, but you do have the ability to have guest passes. So, like, if you're having a meeting with a client, then you can meet in one of the open spaces.
Right.
But the conference room, you'll have to, either rent those or upgrade to a different package.
Okay.
And then
but the other rooms is
Right.
Okay, as part of our benefits.
As part of your member benefits, right?
Okay.
Those are in there. And we'll have to show you what spaces are free spaces because some of the actual offices are going to be for dedicated desks for people that are doing actual dedicated desks. So those would be assigned to others that have those.
Okay.
So when you have the 3 days you come in, it's going to be at one of the open spaces. Mm-hmm. Like Jose has an actual office here, so his office is totally off limits to anyone but him. So, because that's his space with a door that locks and, don't go in there. And then, of course, if you need the event space, you can do that, too.
Do you have any boot camps coming up? I could try to get my wife to come to one.
Yeah, we do actually have a proposal boot camp. I'm glad you mentioned that, too, because that, I know you said y'all have kind of worked on your templates and all that kind of stuff.
Well, we haven't. We're working on them. We've assigned them who's doing them. So
Okay, but that we've got that coming up in October. We moved it from September to October just because we got Florida at the end of this month. And,
what's the fee on the proposal?
For members, it's only $6.99, and then non-members, it's $9.99. So, but that's a 2-day boot camp. We have our proposal helper partners out of DC that come and teach that, and so we're really excited to bring that back.
So the template is used so you can quickly gear up. I mean, in project management terms, it's like
yes,
you're not recreating the wheel every time.
Exactly.
That's where you have the strategy.
Except, don't ever say that cut and paste word in front of the proposal people because then they'll be like.
Because you want to be because once you do some of these, you realize
a lot of the information is the duplicate.
your information is duplicate.
Right.
So it's you really do want something where you can go, whoop,
Yeah.
whoop, whoop,
And you're just customizing the scope
of what they want, because
exactly.
all of the agencies are different.
Right.
To what they want. So yeah, you want to create.
Okay. So, and then I know you had a whole litany of questions, but other folks may have some too. So what other questions are out there?
Bombarded here.
None others? Okay, so who's working on what right now? I know you're
So I
talking
was working on the GSA schedule, because it seemed like a good place to dive in.
And
so I talked to
really start?
Really? I said, here's my whole sentence. I said, it seems like a good place to dive in. Abe said, I was thinking about getting on the fast track with the IT, with my background.
Oh my God, your IT 70 right out the gate.
That's a tier 2.
Yes.
You put that.
That might be tier 3, right?
So he's telling me to establish relationships with, maybe some people I've worked with in the past, GE Energy, Coke, done contracting with or whatever.
Right.
But that's in the private sector. He wants me to focus on public, and I'm like, my mom's a retired government Air Force contractor. My sister has an environmental consulting business. It's in the blood, but I'm like, where is it? Like, I don't know where to start, and I feel like I'm going crazy because there's so much. I've got tentacles everywhere, and I just need to focus on a couple of different things. Yeah. So I'm getting frustrated, and I don't want to stop. And so I'm just, so he said, no, don't do the GSA right now.
Yeah.
Even though, because I heard I saw the word fast track, IT fast track.
Yeah. That's
I don't, so that's my question. My question is actually, I'm just trying to figure out where to focus my energies and my skills and my money.
Right. For where you are right now, I would suggest that you focus on, just identifying what agencies are going to buy what you sell and figure out the top 3 and then start with one. And then, like I said, when you find the agency, if you find Department of Justice, that's great. Department of Justice is huge. You're going to have to narrow down to, the Bureau of Prisons, and then you're going to have to narrow down from there. So you need to take it in bite-sized chunks, because the overwhelm is real, and it could easily paralyze you into doing nothing when you just try to focus on everything.
So I need to look at the agencies buying my services.
Right. So
first.
Right. And do you know how to do some of that research? Okay. So, and I'm going to start very, very fundamentally, and if I'm way too elementary, then tell me okay, come on, I can move to 2nd grade. Okay, you're going to start with your NAICS codes. You know what those are, right?
I've got.
Okay.
Thanks to you guys, I added some. Yeah.
Okay.
All in knowing the right NAICS codes.
Right. Exactly. Okay, so you've got your NAICS codes. So from there, you can go to USA Spending and start ghosting your competition and figuring out who is buying what you sell and what companies are winning those awards.
Awesome.
Okay? And you can do that with the NAICS code. So once you're in USA Spending, I should have done this a little more slowly. Okay, so at USA Spending, oh, they just released a new version. I was wondering why it was different. Okay, that means this is going to be a little quirky for the next few months until they work out all the bugs. Okay, so advanced data search is where you go in the upper right-hand corner here. Okay, and then here you can search by whatever category. So we want to search like either fiscal year 2017 or 2016. You don't want to go too far back.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Advanced data search. And then you're going to search by the NAICS code. So do you happen to know one of your codes?
541161 maybe.
541611.
Someone else can go. I can get one in a second. I gotta look at my phone.
Is it like the consulting project manager 541611?
Consulting, like services consulting, project program management, something like that.
There we go. 541611. There we go.
Sounds right.
Okay.
Andy!
Oh. Okay, so here we go with, these are like the total number of transactions, so 82,000 transactions, over $18 billion in awards for that particular code, okay? So then this shows all the different recipients and the awarding agencies. Can y'all see this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you see there's a lot of GSA, General Services Administration, and that doesn't necessarily mean GSA schedule. That means the General Services Administrative, the General Services Administration is buying your service.
So there's several different schedules under GSA.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So these are actual contract awards to like 11th hour search for, General Administrative Services, Department of Health and Human Services, Department of Defense, DOT. So this kind of gives you an overview of some of the different agencies that are buying what you sell.
Okay.
Another great resource, this is the little, USA Spending is the elementary school version. This next website, FPDS, is more advanced. FPDS, there we go, Federal Procurement Data System Next Generation. So F like Frank, P like Paul, D like David, S like Sam.gov. And at FPDS, this is one of those sites that you do have to register into. So once you register, you want to log in, and then you can do an easy search. And that's a misnomer. Because ain't nothing easy about these searches. Okay, and then the great thing is here we can go 541.
Excuse me, do you guys have a Wi-Fi password? I can just go on my hotspot if not.
We do have a Wi-Fi password, and because Richard didn't change it to what we told him to change it to, I have no idea what it is.
I'll just go on my hotspot. I mean, you might need to
O-R, I think it's all lowercase O-R-I. It's, you need to know what it is, first of all. Do the GCA 2.4. That one I know.
Oh, okay, it's open?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you'll need a password. Are you ready for it?
I don't even see it.
Okay, so try Origin 2.4.
Oh, yes, I see GSA-524, yes.
524?
I see a GCA-2.4.
Yes, that's the one.
Okay, let me write down the code.
GCA 422422. It should be all lowercase. GCA 422422. Okay. And then back to FPDS. In this field, I typed in the NAICS code in the keyword search, and then it comes up literally with these 690,000 different results, which is a little onerous. But the good thing about it is it tells you up here the top 10 departments that are spending money in this particular NAICS code and the top 10 contracting agencies. And then it'll also tell you the top 10 vendors. So this is kind of how you can find out, one, what department is buying your services, what actual contract agency at that department. So, we see it's Department of Defense, GSA, and HHS are the top departments. And the top 10 contracting agencies are Department of Army, the Federal Acquisition Service, and then Department of Navy are the top 3 contracting agencies. So, Department of State, Air Force, Energy, Veterans Affairs, and then the vendor name. So this shows the actual companies that are winning, the top 10 winners.
Yeah, because I went in that, and I think either Jacobs or Parsons, or I'm trying to think, one of those companies, I just don't have relationships with. I haven't ever worked with. Well, I'm still thinking public, but private. Yeah. Okay.
You mean the vendors, you mean?
Yeah, I got to this website. I'm registered with them, and I actually somehow was able to look at these, and
Okay.
I think I saw like Jacobs or Parsons in one of those.
Okay.
as one of the top 10. I can't see it.
Yeah. So like here.
Yeah, there's.
I mean, so you see the top 10.
Allen Hamilton. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Deloitte. Okay. Yeah.
So how did you get here? You just did a search?
I did a search with just the NAICS code.
So you log in, first of all you got to register for the site,
Right.
then you log in and then you just put the next code? Really?
So,
that's pretty simple. We'll talk about that.
No, it's simple, but this is big picture. So
That's the beginning.
yeah, it's again back to the rabbit hole thing. So this isn't going to, I mean, this NAICS code is just general administrative services. So this is very, very, very broad in general. So that doesn't mean that everyone that's doing this work is doing exactly what you do. Okay. So then we got to get a little more specific and narrow the focus.
Dave was saying to contact some of those vendors to establish
exactly.
a relationship.
Yep. Yeah.
But if they got a contract and they came to you, you're not certified yet, you're self-certified as a woman, would they get credit for that?
It depends, because, if it's like a Deloitte, think about who it is, who the player is. So Deloitte & Touche is a private corporation. I mean, am I saying that right? They're not in the public sector. Yeah, so they're a private corporation. So they have probably internal supplier diversity goals.
Right.
So that means they're going to have like a small business liaison officer within Deloitte that's mainly focused on trying to find small, diverse businesses. So the fact that you are a woman-owned business would be beneficial for them. But again, back to who the player is. Because this is a Fortune 500 company, most likely they're going to want you as a woman-owned business to have that certification through WeBank. They're not going to accept that WBENC, Women Business Enterprise National Council.
Is that the one, excuse me, with the $300 membership? I'm sorry.
Yeah, 350. Yeah, 350.
Everybody's begging me for money, and I'm like,
They all charge.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
So that's
because apparently all the companies that I've either worked with or want to in the private sector, I need to go through that because they select from that.
Right, exactly.
So
yeah.
I'm gonna have to fork it out.
Right. So I mean, in that case, yes, it does. Your self-certification probably won't benefit you depending on the audience. Now, going through certified.sba.gov is going to be beneficial if you're going directly to HHS or CDC or a government agency because they recognize that woman-owned small business certification and they're totally fine that you've gone through the self-certification process. But when you're with a company that has, Fortune 500 supplier diversity goals, they need to see that sheet of paper. And the other thing is that they are the ones that are paying the big bucks to Women Business Enterprise National Council or to the National Minority Supplier Development Council.
They kind of earn it back.
Right, yeah.
You have to build those relationships.
Right.
You earn it back eventually.
So, yeah. But, the other thing to do is to look at some of these companies like a Booz Allen. I mean, come on, none of us in this room can hope to compete, or they're not our competition, right? They are a huge corporation. We may as well be looking at Lockheed, right? So some of these other companies like an L3 Services, I've not heard of them. SAIC, that's another really big one. They're too big to be your competition. But we can look at some of these others and say, okay, let's look at that company. We click on there, we can find their NAICS code, we can find all this stuff, and then we can start looking at them and seeing, okay, what is this company anything like me? And if it is, what are they winning and what are they going after? And I can do the exact same thing. Again, back to recreating the wheel. I mean, not recreating the wheel, but just duplicating what somebody else has done.
In order to build up a relationship with these vendors, like I typed for my next code, and I find that this one of the biggest vendor here. What are the elements or the things that we should put in terms of building up a relationship?
I mean,
an essential element to put in your email or phone call?
I mean, some of that we put into a software, but it's just a matter of, just like you build any kind of business relationship.
Attend their events.
If they have events, attend the events. But once you find out who that key person is, just introduce yourself. And of course, one thing I'll tell you, a key thing not to do is you don't ever want to
ask them for business.
Ask them for business, or like, hi, I'm a minority-owned, woman-owned, 8A certified small business doing this, that, and the other. No, what you want to lead with is all of your capabilities and experience. This is the type of work I've done. This is whom I've done it for. I am looking to partner with other companies in the area and that sort of thing. And your certifications and all those qualifications, as far as certification standpoint, are just an oh, by the way. And that's nothing I would share in a very first initial email.
So even because in one of my capability statements, I say that we're minority.
Yeah, and that's absolutely appropriate on a CAPE statement. Yeah, but I'm just saying that, if you ever get a chance to have a meeting with a contracting officer or somebody with whom you're trying to build a relationship, it should be all about, here's how what I know can benefit you, and here's why, you need me, because I've been doing this 20 years. We've worked with other clients that are just like you, and we've saved those clients millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands or whatever the situation is. All of the features of what working with you does for them is what needs to be the benefit. And once you sell them on all that good stuff, and they're kind of salivating like, oh my gosh, if they can fix my exact problem, and they work for this agency that I know has my exact problem, and they were able to fix it, then I want them. And then you're like, oh, by the way, I happen to be a woman-owned small business, or better-known, service-disabled, better-known 8A firm, or, on GSA Schedule 70 or what have you, then, that's just, okay, wow. So now I really need to do business with you. Okay, again, that costs more than $20, and you're not trying to go to jail.
Right.
Okay? No, I think it's $25. But yeah, just don't buy it. So. Just I mean, that works in the private sector if you're courting Deloitte, or yeah. So
it sounds like in my case, I'm gonna need to get in with these private companies, because in the PM world, I'm seeing that the government's pointing back to these big
ones,
and Big 10
are
consulting firms,
exactly,
and they're private companies.
Yeah, and that's going to be a very smart play with you, because I mean it just makes sense. And then those companies, because they're winning federal money, I mean like Deloitte and Booz Allen and Lockheed Martin and all these companies, because they win so much in federal work, they have subcontracting plans and subcontracting goals that they have to meet. They had to put that plan in saying, okay, government, you're giving us this $32 billion, and here's how we're going to do 32% of that to small, women-owned, minority-owned, veteran-owned, all these firms. So they're looking for small, diverse firms with whom they can do business. And again, back to selling your qualifications, and oh, by the way, is always a good way to try to, at least get your foot in the door with your capabilities. But it's
so I've met with, I've gone to a few of these conferences, and I've met with the corporate world, so to speak, and they always say go and register on the diversity database, because that's where, so that's where we look, and that's where we start. So, if you have WeBank, you have all these names, and you have to go and register at all these different companies, because they all want you to register.
Yeah, that's
database. It's a lot of work.
It is a pain in the patootie. But and again, back to, if you narrow the scope down of who you're going to target,
right,
and then you've managed to figure out, okay, so here are the top 3 at the place that's doing business where I want to do business, then you only need to focus on the registrations at those 3, because those registrations on corporate, some of them are boogers. I mean, like, they're 10 pages.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. So it can be daunting. Okay, I know you had a ton more questions, Charlene, because I just know you. So go ahead. Fire away. You got to. Oh man.
You sort of answered.
Okay.
Other ones are really technical. The attorney recommendation, but other than that, they're technical for the guys about the website
Oh, okay.
and it being slow and how it's set up as a HTTP and not a HTTPS.
Oh, and I think I know that's come up recently, and there was something that we've just recently changed, so if that's an issue for you, I know there's a known fix for that we can get.
Okay.
Okay.
And then yeah, it being slow, and the office space.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, and then 51%. So you gave me the office space information.